the Supreme Court's handbook. It says here, mind your language. Mind your language. The Supreme Court releases a gender-just handbook for judges. It quotes the Supreme Court saying, it is vital to challenge stereotypes. It incorporates terms championed by the LGBT plus community as well. So, handbook advises judges to use unmarried woman instead of spinster, sex worker instead of prostitute, and street sexual harassment and not eve teasing. So, eve teasing is not going to be used. The Supreme Court suggests you use street sexual harassment. It discusses the newer issue of gender fluidity, incorporating terms championed by the LGBTQIA plus community.
Look at these words. You were actually, you said some of those words. Career woman, all right, fallen woman, faithful or obedient wife, eve teasing, hermaphrodite. The Supreme Court has identified these words and many others in the gender unjust terms and are often heard in Indian courts, all right. And of course, you said when it comes to the issue about eve teasing, they've called it as street sexual harassment, okay. So, instead of these terms, what they are offering is that woman in case of career woman or fallen woman, and then wife, okay, street sexual harassment, and when it comes to the word hermaphrodite, they've said intersex. So, the 30-page handbook on combating gender stereotypes aims to free the judiciary and the legal community from the mechanical application of gender stereotypical language in judgments on orders and court pleadings. Now, interestingly enough, most of these are Victorian words. Do you know that?
Well, yeah, so essentially,
we're trying to replace the
old age.
Exactly, the old adages are that we're trying to replace the
relic of words.
The relic of words.
But then again, you see, you can't just, whatever gets old, you can't just start pushing that away. Words give a sense of what society was like around it when the word came into
but it is what
being.
What was 18th century Britain was.
Now, the draft has been penned by Justices Maushumi Bhattacharya from the Calcutta High Court and Pratibha Singh from the Delhi High Court, and Professor Jhuma Sen, guided and edited by the CGI D.Y. Chandrachud as well. Now, CGI himself says, it is vital that judges not only avoid relying on stereotypes in their decision making and their writing, but also actively challenge and dispel harmful stereotypes, or else it can lead to distortion of objective and impartial application of the law. Now, from the handbook, another quotation, it says, gender identity is not limited to a binary, but rather exists on a spectrum and can evolve over time. Now, I do have with me snippets of the handbook, which we're also playing out right there. What are the different types of gender stereotypes? It's right there. I'm going to ask the control room to pause it if it can, so that the viewers can actually catch a glimpse of it. It says the most common kind of gender acronyms and stereotypes that concern women are stereotypes based on the so-called
inherent characteristics of women.
Inherent characteristics of women.
So, that is why they said that, the career woman part, the fallen woman part, you're trying to in fact attribute something to the woman itself. So, that is the aspect that we are in fact looking at, and therefore, I think it is rightly so that they have made. But just before that, you had read something saying that about gender, that it is evolving on a spectrum. Now, this has been the LGBTQIA position.
The terms that are championed by the LGBTQIA.
No, I mean the position also, saying that, where
you
he
can't
spoke
say
about.
adulteress anymore. For adulteress, you'll have to say woman who has engaged in sexual relations outside of marriage. You shouldn't say affair. It's incorrect to say affair. You say relationship outside of marriage. And just like that, biological sex, biological male, biological female, you should say sex assigned at birth. And I'll just carry on, a fallen woman, you don't say a fallen woman, you just say woman. You don't say feminine hygiene products, you say menstrual products. Forcible rape, there is no such thing as forcible rape. They're saying it's just rape. Harlot, you don't say harlot.
I mean, that's another word for prostitute. These are all Victorian words.
Hermaphrodite, you say intersex. A hooker, a word that you would also a synonym for prostitute. You wouldn't call somebody a hooker. You said sex worker. Hormonal, to describe a woman's emotional state, that she was or they were hormonal. You say use a gender neutral term to describe the emotion. Example, compassionate or enthusiastic. Don't say hormonal. And do you think this is a step in the right direction?
To a large extent, yes, because one, it just gives you an idea about how, why is it very intrinsic only to women? I'm saying when you come to the language use, it's always intrinsic to women and their quality that you want to put out, and that's where the stereotyping is happening. So it is quite intrinsic towards women when it comes to that legalese. And plus, I was saying a Victorian idea like harlot or this, it's a lot of Victorian idea that has been, I would say, without sense, being handed over from generation to generation into the legal fraternity, and only now they suddenly realize that the words have changed. I mean, the meanings of the words have changed. Even the English language has changed. It has become more gender neutral. So that is, I think, CGI is trying to push the gender neutrality in language when it comes to the legal terms.
Well, this picture that we're showcasing to the viewers, I really, liked this particular portion of the handbook. And why is because, read the headline over there. It says, I do not believe in any stereotypes. Why should I read this glossary? Right? So for all of you out there who think that, you don't believe in any stereotypes, you haven't given in yet, and why you should be even reading this glossary, well, research has shown that most of us hold subconscious biases which stem from stereotypes. While we all like to believe that we are unbiased and fair, chances are that each one of us, like most people, rely on stereotypes in some form or the other. There's a link down at the bottom over there. You can say to discover whether you have implicit biases, click on the link above, and the results may surprise you. And I found it really interesting that the handbook did put out something like this as well. It also put out, can stereotypes actually be overcome? And it says, yes, stereotypes can be overcome. Research has shown that we can avoid much of the negative impact of stereotyping by recognizing that we hold certain implicit biases and making a conscious and deliberate effort to overcome. But of course, it takes time. Also, what do we mean when we say gender, Varghese? Gender, what is gender? What is somebody's sex? What is somebody's gender? There are two types of things. Now, it says here, while sex, and to everybody out there who doesn't know, people who know, well, congratulations and kudos to you. Who don't know, this is the differentiation between sex and gender, male, female, and all the other genders that are now about. While sex refers to the biological attributes of individuals, male, female, gender refers to socially constructed roles, behaviors, expressions, and identities of girls, women, boys, men, and gender diverse individuals. Gender identity is not limited to a binary of a girl, woman, or a boy, or a man, but rather exists on a spectrum and can evolve over time.
No, that is what I was saying.
Which is why we're here and we're talking about this.
No, that's what I was saying. That was a LGBTQIA point, saying that gender is not in one end or the other end. You tend to have a spectrum on it.
Right.
And there are conservative groups that in fact say that, there are only two genders. And for them, both the
Conservative
sex
groups.
and this thing, in fact, sex as well as the gender part of it go together. And these are socially conservative groups, and I have seen how they are now also hitting out against the very idea of it.
So
but this is too much. This handbook is a very progressive idea, and
it's out there in the public domain. Do download it. Do read it. I mean, it doesn't hurt, learning something new now, does it?